Hey everyone, Melanie Minshinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I'm really excited to be sharing my newest set from Gina K Designs with you, Magnificent Mallards, and this comes out on Monday, August 16th, 7 p.m. Central. So I hope you can join us over on our Facebook Live. I'll be chatting with Gina, showing her more samples and talking more about the set. This continues my Beautiful Nature series, but I called this one Magnificent just to go with the mallards. It's the most popular duck in the world. The males have this beautiful green head, and it's just going to be so fun to craft and represent different families that you're giving these cards to, or the one that you are in fact sending it from, with the different male and female ducks and then all these little ducklings. As you can see, I've got some flying ducks in the set. This is going to be so fun for your scenes. Additionally, I've got larger and smaller ducks so that you can create these different families. This is another video that I'm going to be putting on soon, showing you how to do the water and this grass to create a really pretty scene for these ducks. But I wanted to show something a little bit more monochromatic today, and because everyone is loving the slimline cards, I thought this would be perfect for creating just a little row of ducklings following their mom on this slimline card. The products that I'm using today, really minimal supplies. I don't have the master layout die set that I'm using today. I've got the dies, but I can't find my base plate. So I just went ahead and trimmed my cardstock mats. And so this is a square that is cut at 6 1/4 inches and then scored at 3 1/8. I messed that up, so that is why that is going to be the back side. This is made with some of the soft stone cardstock. Then I am actually going to be doing my stamping today on the Whisper cardstock. So it looks so similar to white until you put it up next to white, and you can see that it's a really nice warm gray. So I just love this for this particular scene. This is on a mat that is 2 3/4 inches by, I believe, 5 3/4 inches. And then this is, I believe, 2 7/8 by 5 7/8. I will post these measurements and just confirm them at the bottom, or use the Master Layout 7 set to get this nice clean edge and that stitched look around that mat. I've also got one of the Gina K blending brushes. This is the one that I like to use for my gray inks. The ink pads that we're going to be using, I've got the Gina K Designs Obsidian Amalgam ink that I'm using for the ducklings. I have got the charcoal brown, just because the females are mostly a brownish gray. I think it works better to stamp this particular duck in the brown. And then for the water, I am using some of the Gina K soft stone. And I'll be talking more about my color choices once we get to stamping. Also got just my Scor-Buddy that I did my scoring for on that card base. I've got the mini MiSTI that I'm going to be doing my stamping on. And then you might want to also have an acrylic block because you're doing multiples of these little ducks. So I just like to stamp these out individually. I don't have the greeting pulled aside. I did a combination of one of my greetings, the So Thankful, and then part of one from Emily's new Thank Yous greeting sets. But I wanted to point out in here, I've got a lot of greetings that our customers and friends and fans have been asking for, to say we have a lot of crafters that want to make ones for their wives. So we've got wife in here. That was a big request. Then we can also say this is from my family for your family. So that's just really nice to be able to do something that's going to be for multiple people in a family, or maybe your spouse or your kids aren't card makers, but you're all thinking of someone or wishing them well or praying for someone. So it's really nice to, even though it's being a card that's created for you, it's coming from many people. Sorry, I've had too much coffee today. I'm having a hard time talking, and I'm just super excited about this set. Okay. The ink that I'm going to be using for the coloring today, I left my Arteza markers over at a friend's house. We were doing some crafting, so I'm going to be using my Spectrum Noir markers. But these are just some alcohol markers, and these are for coloring in those ducks and then also doing our water. So really any alcohol markers that you have are going to work. You just want a warm gray. This is a BG5, so just kind of a light brownish gray for the water. And then I've got the CT1 and the GB6. So basically just a darker and then a lighter yellow for that downy coat of feathers, and then those beaks. I've also got some Connect glue for my mats, and then I have got a white gel pen and then just a black pen for doing just some details. If you want to add a little highlight or a low light or define the eyes or anything like that, I really like having the black pens, and then these Arteza pens. Obviously I get this from Arteza. They have a great assortment of 6, 8, and 1.0 white gel pens in a set, and so these are great for adding highlights too. So let's go ahead and get started stamping out. Oh, one other thing is I want to show you. You want to have some scratch paper for being able to mask off your horizon, and I'm just going to fold this right here. This is going to protect my work surface. I'm just going to slide my mat right in there to make the horizon and the water. Alright, so let's go ahead and create our scene. So I am going to stamp the ducks first. We do not have dies for this set, and I just want to let you know every sample that I made for the release, no dies and no fussy cutting. I'm just stamping these directly onto my mats, and then I am doing the blending brush to make the water around them. It's very easy to do. So let's begin by stamping the mama duck and her babies. Okay, so I'm going to take, so we've got the two sizes. So the male is kind of more hunkered down, he's got the darker head, and then the female, she's got her head up a little bit more. So I created the two different sizes of these larger ones because I've got two different sizes of the ducks, and I just wanted you to be able to have smaller ducks for in the distance, or for when you have a larger layout that you want to have more seen, but then also the bigger ducks for close-ups. So that's just so that you know what my thinking was behind that, but there's just going to be so many combinations that you can make. You'll also see you have got multiple ducks here, so you've got one little mini duck, and then you've got the two. So I did all of mine just in a single line, but if you wanted, you could do, yeah, actually, I'm sorry, these are going this way. That would be kind of funny to have them going in a different direction, kind of beating to their own drum, but I'm sure you probably all heard about how ducks imprint, or most birds imprint on the first face that they see after they're born, and so they just all follow mama duck around. So I'm going to, actually I'm going to wait, since I'm doing these in different colors, I don't want to get any of my black on her. Okay, so got it at the corner, put my magnets down. Remember, if you just start out with this set, it's going to be really sticky at first. So you can use a embossing ink on there. So I'm just going really lightly on that. And you want to press all over. I hope you can see that in there. I'm sorry if I move that out of the middle. Pick that up. Okay. And I'm just going to do a little bit more there on the body. I like how the head looks. But there's a lot of fine detail here, so you don't want to ink it too heavily and lose that detail if you've got a super juicy pattern. Just a little bit more on the face. So there we've got our mama duck, so I'm going to pull her off. And then we've got our baby duck, and so I'm going to do this one. And so if you have, 3 kids in your family, you could say from our family, or if you're sending it to somebody with 4 kids in their family, you could do 4 little ducks. I don't know, I might just think about these things too much, but that is just what is on my mind when I'm stamping this. And so the ducklings, they have yellow on their faces, but their body is mostly black, like the dad. Okay, and I'm going to, before I move it, I don't want to get ink all over my fingers or on my mat, so I'm just cleaning that off with my little tidy towel. And so you can have them kind of staggered a little bit. The one thing that you want to make sure that you're doing, though, you don't want to have them pointing down or up. You want they don't need to be all on that same plane, but you do want all of the ripples going parallel like your horizon, if that makes sense to you, okay? All right, so I'm going to do the next one. And I might have started her over a little bit farther, so I might just do 3 ducks on this one. You could also have it going off of the edge, like it's just coming into frame. And then do my last one. And then I'm going to do my sentiment at the very end because I really like it lined up there on the horizon. Gives me a good guideline for getting my greeting straight. A little bit more. I need to get a Chucky. I need to make a Chucky tool for going over and adding that pressure so that I get a really nice image. So I hope you also noticed I have a bunch of cattails here, and I didn't use any on this card, but as you can see I did on this card. So this is going to create cattails in the foreground and in the background, and it's going to create a lot of depth on your scene. But this just kind of looks like open water, and also I have that greeting going across, so I didn't want to obscure that. I will show how to add those cattails in the next video. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to take my scratch paper, and I've got it looking kind of where I want to have it. So I want my greeting going across the middle there. All right, so the water is going to go above their little heads, and I can see that I have got it running parallel to the bottom of my mat. So I'm going to take my soft stone ink and just swirl this around, and starting off of the whoop, hang on, let me put this right here. I was trying to avoid. Just line it up again. Okay, so you want to put your fingers down to hold down that edge. And I saw that Gina got like a stamp pad holder recently. Maybe I need to look into that. All right. So we're just going to go around this, and so you can just go around these little ducks, and I didn't even have to do any masking to cover up my ducks. I'm just going around them because remember that water is going to look a slightly different color all over, so you don't have to get it just perfectly solid, and you don't have to worry about it covering up your ducks, because water is really reflecting those colors off of the things on it and around it. I'm not going right over the ducks' heads, but I can go around it, and I'm also going to be adding my own ripples with that darker ink, and so that can go up and kind of fill in those gaps. And so you can peek and make sure that you've got a nice strong horizon there, okay? And I'm just going to make it just a little bit more solid there at the bottom. I picked that up. All right. So, and if you want to do a little bit more now, I can move this away now that I'm not going to do any in the distance. So it's going to be lighter in the background. If you look at photos and things for reference, you see things get hazier in the background and darker up in the foreground. So I really want my darkest ink to be up at the front. Okay. So that's all the blending I need to do. So I'm going to put that aside. Don't need this pad anymore. So I'm going to color this up. So what I'm going to do now, let's color in these little beaks. So I'm going to use, first of all, I'm using my darker yellow, and I'm just going on the bottom, curving around kind of the underside and backside of their heads, and this is going to give it some dimension, and then just putting a little under here because it would be casting a shadow. And then you can take your lighter yellow to fill in those other little feathers. They're just a really soft downy yellow. And if you want it to look a little bit more blended, you can do some tip to tip coloring by holding the lighter yellow in the hand that you color with. and just picking up some of that darker ink and just blending that in, and that is going to soften that edge and create an in-between shade. And I forgot to put my dark yellow right here. And I also want the darker yellow kind of at the bottom here. So I know these are really tiny areas, but on your card you will notice the difference. And then I want to go ahead and I'm going to use this darker yellow on the bottom of her beak, and then the lighter yellow at the top. Okay. And the ducklings have little gray beaks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just over it, just a little quick swipe. And then to make kind of that shadow part, I'm just going to go over it again, just at the very bottom. When you layer the alcohol markers, it will get darker. Okay, so there I've got some basic coloring on there. I'm going to put just a little shadow under right there. I'm going to put a little shadow kind of right here, just tracing on her body, like that. Okay, now I want to add in some white here to these. I'm going to put just a little highlight in the center of their eyes, and that is just going to brighten it up and add some light to my little scene there. Okay, and you could put a little, kind of a little highlight on the beak if you want. Anything that's like kind of a hard surface, and that will help it catch the light as well. Okay, back in there. Now, I also like this, and this isn't something you have to do, but it's just something optional. You can make a couple little details on this pop by adding just a little black to her eye around the white, and then a little black to that little nostril. So that's all I'm doing there. And then because she has a lot of white feathers, you can go in with your white pen and just go into those open areas, and that's just going to make it pop out a little bit more. Okay. So I'm just going over any open areas that's over that Whisper ink. Not all of it though, because there's going to be some shadow. Okay. Alright, so now this is a really fun part. We are going to create some reflections on the water. So if you might not think about, when I talked about how I was going to select my colors for doing my water and my sky, water is clear, okay, and it reflects the colors around it. So if you've got a sunset, it's going to be reflecting orange on that water. If you've got a cloudy day, it's going to be reflecting gray on that water. Also, what's underneath it, if you've got really deep water or very shallow water or a muddy bottom or rocks. So this is going to be like a cloudy day. So I'm not going to be adding anything in the sky, and I'm not going to be doing any sun rays. Again, we will do this on other cards. So these are some fun things that are coming. But what I'm going to do, if you turn the stamp over, this is going to show you the shape of what that image would cast. Now, you could ink it up and do it backwards to get that underside, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that gray marker, and first of all, you want to kind of make that shadow underneath each. And so all I'm doing here is just tracing under each of the ducks, just like you would if it was on the ground, okay? But what I want to do is I'm just going to do some ripples suggesting this same shape here, okay? So I'm skipping some places, and I'm just following along to make it look like this duck, okay? So you're just doing just a very gentle light touch, just suggesting. Again, let's put this right here. And so we'll see it goes up there with the tail and then out with the beak. So we're just suggesting that. Okay. And now we're also going to do just some longer and shorter lines. Oops, excuse me. Through the rest of our sea, or our pond, or whatever this is, lake. So we're just skipping So just use a very, very light touch at first. So they're going to be bigger in the front and smaller in the back. And you want some of them to go right up to the edge of the ducks, because if it's just going around it, it's not going to look like a continuous pattern. So you can go kind of back and forth and then see if you need to add any more. So there's that, okay? And now look how pretty this is when we add our ripples. So we're just going to go around where we have those dark waves. And so if you've done any kind of painting or coloring classes, you see really what makes your scenes come alive. You have to have darks and lights. It doesn't really have depth when everything is kind of the same value and in the middle. Even when you add highlights to things, if you don't have shadows or anything dark for contrast, you just don't really notice it. But this white is just really going to make the water look like it is sparkling and shimmering. And that's all you have to do. This is very simple. It was just a couple colors. You can do this, okay? So it's done when you think it's done. Maybe, just take a step back. We can also put this on our mat, and then, afterwards we can add a little bit more to our scene. Now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to add my greeting. So let me grab this again and put it right in here. And I think on this one I'm going to say, so thankful. Let's see. Actually, I want to put on this one, for your family, I think is what I want to put on this one. I have a dear friend. She's got 3 kids. They're all starting back to school tomorrow. So I think that would be a really fun one to give to her. Thinking about her 3 kids. So I'm going to put this in here. Sorry, that was the mat. And so thankful for your family. I could just put for your family or so thankful for your family. They're still a little bit sticky on the back since they're new. Okay, so just like that. In the corner. And I don't know, I might want those a little bit closer to each other actually, so it might be easier to stamp them separately. You can decide, sometimes it kind of backs it off a little bit of how close you can get those 2 stamps together. So now let's go ahead and we are going to just adhere this to our white mat with some of that Connect glue, or you can use tape adhesive, whatever you want. Now the Pure Luxury, if you use it, the base weight white, alcohol markers do not go through it, but the thinner weights and then the other colored cardstock, it will. So that is just something to note. You would see that on the inside of your card if you did a single layer scene. So you just want to be aware of that. So just layer that right on there. And if you want to pop this up with some foam squares, you could do that. I'm just layering it directly on there. And this one I think I'm going to center, but for this card I just pushed it up, and I think that's another nice way to orient these slimline layouts at the top. So you can let me know in the comments which you like better, if you like it centered or shifted up slightly. Isn't that sweet? You can do this. So I hope you're excited about this set, and I can't wait to show you more cards with it. Come chat with us tonight on the Gina K and Stamp TV Friends Facebook page. We're going to be going live sometime between 7 and 8. I don't know yet what my scheduled time is, but I'm really excited to show you stuff with all the other illustrators and just to chat with you and show you more sets with Magnificent Mallards. Thanks so much for watching today. I look forward to reading your comments and shooting more videos. God bless.